Your patient is 58 years old, non-diabetic, no ASCVD, LDL is 135 with a blood pressure of 128/82 and a former smoker. You plug these numbers into your risk calculator. Under the pooled cohort equation, their 10-year ASCVD risk comes back at 9.2%, above the 7.5% threshold, and you write a statin. But now you switch to the PREVENT calculator, the 2026 guideline just made as a recommendation. Same patient, same numbers, risk comes back at 5.1. Below the thresholds, no statin. Same patient, same biology, different math, different prescription. No randomized trial has ever established that one calculator produces better outcomes than the other, and we just changed it. And in doing so, we changed the answer for 17 million Americans. Welcome to video 4 of the mini series for the lipid guidelines here on Dispense is Written. The pooled cohort equations, or PCEs, were developed in 2013 using data from 5 cohorts recruited from 1940s to 1980s. These were race-specific, generating separate equations for Black and white adults, and they have been criticized for overestimating risk and underrepresenting Asian and Hispanic populations. In 2023, the American Heart Association developed the PREVENT calculator, which is predicting risk of cardiovascular disease events. PREVENT removes race as an input, adds kidney function and current statin use, and was built primarily from more contemporary and diverse data sets. The 2026 Dyslipidemia Guidelines replaced the PCE with PREVENT as the recommended risk calculator for primary prevention. We don't know what the full consequences are. What we do know, based off of a paper published in JAMA in 2024, is how the risk changed for a nation of patients at cardiovascular risk. So researchers in that trial used both calculators and applied them to the NHANES data set. This is a cross-sectional study that represents the entire United States population. It can't tell us which calculator is correct. It can only tell us what changes when you switch. The population mean for 10-year ASCVD risk was 8% using PCE, but using PREVENT, it dropped to 4.3%, nearly cut in half at a national level. The largest drops were in Black adults from 10.9 to 5.1%, and in adults aged 70 to 75 from 22.8% down to 10.2%. That is a dramatic reclassification in 2 groups. In terms of statin recommendations, 45.4 million Americans were eligible for primary prevention statins under the PCE. Under PREVENT, that number drops to 28.3 million. 17.3 million people no longer qualify, including 4 million people who are already taking a statin as they were told to. There are 3 potential problems here. The first problem is we don't know which calculator is right. The paper is explicit about this, and their most important limitation is that they cannot determine which risk score more accurately predicts events in today's practice. PREVENT could be more accurate because it uses better, more contemporary data. Or it could be systematically underestimating risk because it was trained on electronic health record data, billing codes, and administrative entries. These things routinely underreport events like ASCVD, and especially can be underreporting in disadvantaged populations. If the training data had fewer events than actually occurred, the algorithm learns to predict fewer events. That is a real concern. Second problem is you can't check the work. The PREVENT equations were developed using the Optum data warehouse, which constituted over 90% of the derivation cohort. Optum is a commercial dataset. It is not publicly available. External investigators cannot audit how the equations were built, where the data came from, or whether there is algorithmic bias baked into the foundation. The authors flagged this directly, and we just made a tool the official standard of care that we can't look under the hood of. Problem 3. What do you do with those 4 million adults on a statin who are no longer recommended for it? These are real patients currently taking a statin that their clinician prescribed based on a 10-year risk above 7.5%. But when you switch to the PREVENT calculator, their risk drops below that threshold. Do you stop the statin? The authors described this as more challenging. That is an understatement of the episode. Many of these patients are borderline. If they age even a couple of years, they'll qualify again. You'd stop their statin and restart it. That's not deprescribing, that's churn, and churn erodes adherence. Removing race from calculators is philosophically and scientifically defensible. Race is a social construct, not a biological variable. The 2021 CKD equations made the same move for kidney function, and that was the right call. But Black adults experienced the largest calculated risk reduction of any group under PREVENT, from 10.9 to 5.1%. Whether that drop reflects more accurate estimation or whether it's a byproduct of removing a variable that, whatever its limitation, was capturing real differential cardiovascular risk, we do not know. If it's the latter, PREVENT could be underestimating the highest risk population in the country while appearing to be more equitable. So here's one last number that I think should be driving the conversation. Under PREVENT, the new lower risk calculator, 28.3 million Americans still qualify for primary prevention of statin therapy. Of those, 56% are not currently taking a statin. That's 15.8 million Americans already identified who are not treating. We've spent enormous intellectual and institutional energy switching calculators for 17 million people, but we're failing to reach 15.8 million people we've already found. The calculator debate is real, but if your primary prevention program is missing more than half of the people it's already identified, the limiting factor is not which equation to use. It's access, it's cost, it's trust, it's follow-up. The calculator is not the bottleneck. So the Castelli coefficient for this Prevent Calculator episode is a 6 out of 10. The therapy, Prevent Unlocks Statins, has some of the most robust patient-oriented outcomes data in the cardiovascular medicine space, and that raises the floor. But the calculator itself has never been fully tested in a trial that shows that it's better than other equations. It was built on data that no one can examine, and it reclassifies 17 million people without a single adjudicated cardiovascular event to validate the move. The therapy earns the score, the tool doesn't. A 6 sits right in that tension. Use the calculator the guideline recommends. Know that it may be more accurate or it may be more optimistic. Know that it'll generate conversations with patients about stopping statins they've already been on, and that conversion deserves nuance, not just a number. And look hard at the panel of patients who's eligible but untreated, because that gap is larger than any calculator change will fix. Until next time, this is Dispense is Written.